Hey everyone, this is Dr. Casey Johnson. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I know you're going to love today's episode with Roro Asmar. Roro is doing some amazing work, so I'm excited to have him on to share a story with you guys. If you've been loving the Unlock Wellness podcast, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. The Unlock Wellness podcast is now on patreon.com. Patreon is an amazing site that allows you to support your favorite podcasts. So whether it's $1 per month or 10 or 20, it's an amazing way to help support the Unlock Wellness podcast. If you're unable to support it this time, I still love you. The podcast will always be free, but the podcast has been growing a lot, and using Patreon will help me slowly improve recording equipment so I can get you guys the best sound quality possible. As well as it's going to help me decrease the need to use sponsored ads in the episodes. I'm definitely not against sponsorships by any means, but I respect your time as listeners and I don't want to have to overload the episodes with ads. So if you do want to support using Patreon, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Dr. Casey Johnson. There's even fun incentives for supporting, like shirts and stickers, so be sure to go check it out. Also be sure to follow me on social media to keep up with the latest podcast episodes. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. My username across the board is at Dr. Casey Johnson. That's DrKaseyJohnson. You can also check out my website at drkaseyjohnson.com. It has all of the past podcast episodes and more information about each guest under the Listen tab. While you're on my site, also be sure to check out the Shop tab where you can check out my first book of my Healthy Children's Book series and learn about the Unlock Wellness Project, which supplies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. Thank you again for listening. I hope this episode leaves you feeling inspired to start making positive changes to your health. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Roro Asmar. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Roro Asmar. And Roro is a vegan chef, entrepreneur, and vlogger in Washington, D.C. and is doing some extremely positive work. I was actually connected to Roro through past podcast guest Anna Jameson, who is also amazing. So be sure to go back and listen to her episode on episode 126. But I'm just excited to have Roro on the show to share his story and all of the amazing things that he's working on. So Roro, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and we'll just jump into your backstory, like where you're from and what your health looked like at a younger age and really just how that's progressed to where it is right now.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, so I'm from the New York area, and then my parents are immigrated over from Lebanon, so they came over here to the States, and then when they had me, after a little while, they decided to move out of the city and go somewhere a little bit more family-friendly and moved over here to Virginia. I've been in the Northern Virginia area, D.C., Maryland, DMV area for a little while now. And here's where I call home base. Let's see, man. Oh, health. I guess I've been all types of eater growing up. I've been the candies and junk food, lunch-esque kind of foodie I was that way for a long, long time. And then in high school, I played football in high school and in college. So I was very into the macho, masculine, more chicken, more steak, protein, muscles,
right.
muscles, kind of mindset. So I did that for a little while. And then after college, coming home, kind of that, that period in life in which you're trying to find yourself, find your own way, your path. My little brother had actually brought it up to me about how he was interested in going vegetarian. I, at the time, was still pursuing my football career post-amateur, trying to make it as a professional. And so I was, doing meal plans for myself and working out all the time. And so my little brother had mentioned to me he was going vegetarian. Of course, just like I guess everyone else, I busted his chops. Oh, how are you going to get your protein? Oh my gosh, you're going to get so skinny. You're going to get so frail. You're going to get so weak. And then I was like, you know what? Let me look into this a little further. So I did a little bit of research on my own. about what a vegetarian diet or lifestyle consisted of. And then I was like, you know what? Let me put my money where my mouth is. I'm always the kind of person where, I don't know, I like trying anything and everything, especially if it's potentially beneficial for me. So I decided to try out vegetarian for a little while. And I was vegetarian for about a year, and then I don't know, I just fell in love with how I felt and the results that my body and my mind were kind of going through. So then I just pushed the envelope a little bit further, and I was about 2 years ago, I committed to being completely vegan. And so 2 years later, I'm still a vegan. I'm still very happy doing so, still feel great. I work out all the time. No protein deficiency here. I've actually just competed in a bodybuilding show, most recently, about 3-4 weeks ago, I competed. So I went through a whole 12-week bodybuilding prep, meal plan and cardio and workout, and I did it all completely plant-based as a kind of test to myself and a way to show others of the potential that a plant-based lifestyle has for your health, and to also sort of shake up the stigma that a lot of men I find have surrounding a plant-based diet.
Yeah. Was that your first show?
Yes, it was. Oh man, it's funny. Funny story was I tried to compete 2 years ago. At the time, I was eating plant-based a little bit, but not as committed to it as when I was towards the end of being vegetarian. So I was still having eggs in my diet, and then I was thinking about doing it, and then I actually started it, but then quit because at the same time I was also launching my business Roro's in the D.C., Virginia area, my deli and my food truck. So I quit. I told my coach, I was like, hey, listen, I got a lot I need to focus on. My lifestyle isn't in a healthy place. I don't want to do, the drastic dieting, the extreme, weight loss, the quick amount of time to lose a lot of weight. And then I told him, it's funny because I told him, I was like, I'm going to come back. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to finish this. And then I came back this year and I was like, listen, I want to do the show. I want to do it vegan. I want to do it my way. And I got it done, completed it. It was honestly, it was a challenge. It was challenging mentally and physically, but in a good way, in a way that I needed and wanted going into the kind of the new year. It was my New Year resolution to work on being more disciplined personally, more disciplined with what I eat, more disciplined just with my habits of sleep and exercise and work. So it all kind of went hand in hand. And, through a 12-week prep, I will say it is difficult. It's, not everyone can do it, but, I was fortunate enough to stick with it and get through it, and got on stage with, a 6-pack, and I had my Oompa Loompa tan on, and I got on stage. And, for me, I was a fat kid. I had a real long phase of my life where I was overweight before. So I'm 6'4". So I was about like 5'7", 5'8" for about 3-4 years before that growth spurt kicked in the summer going into my freshman year of high school. So, I kind of had that awkward middle school, elementary school phase where I was overweight and shy and very insecure about myself. So for me to get on stage and have my shirt off in front of a whole auditorium full of people, I was confident and loving it. And I had a great experience. It was a great time for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cause like you were saying, you made that a New Year's resolution, and it just forces you to have that structure, because you can't, it's a lot easier to be like, I can't have this off day. I have to work out even though I'm kind of tired, because like you said, you are on stage in front of a lot of people. You can't really slack in that kind of situation.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing too, with doing a bodybuilding show was, as a former athlete, a professional athlete myself, I missed that competitive nature of kind of, crafting and creating your own persona or your own product to present to people, that, it's in your control. You put in the blood, sweat, and tears, you put in the hours, and then your results speak for themselves. So to do the bodybuilding show and, exactly. It was kind of that practice of, okay, I can't fake this. I can't cheat my diet. I can't miss my workouts, because if I do and I step out on stage, everyone's going to know.
Right. Yeah. That's a lot of pressure. And like, how did it affect when you started eating that way? Did you notice what kind of positive effects did you have? Like not just physically, but like mentally.
Going plant-based?
Yeah.
Oh man. I've actually, I was diagnosed with clinical depression when I was in college. So, I'm a big mental health advocate myself personally, due to my own experiences with mental health. And I know, I mean, one of the first things, honestly, I noticed when I shifted over from being, an animal protein eater to a plant protein eater was my mindset was more consistent. There was less, influx of, highs and lows. It was more of, my mindset was more of a constant pace in which, the outside triggers or pressures that would come to me, I could handle them a lot better, or, I could mentally process them a lot smoother than I would have in years prior to. And I don't know if that's, directly correlated to a plant-based diet, but there are a lot of studies that do say that a plant-based diet helps reverse or lessen your symptoms of depression. And I mean, from me, anecdotally going through it, I did experience that. I've noticed ever since I've been vegan, which is about, 2 years ago, like I mentioned, I've noticed my mindset has been in a more, not in a more positive place, but in a more constant place in which, I could, process and cope with life's pressures and stresses a lot more positive than I normally would have in prior years.
Yeah. And like you said, so many studies that show that. And and obviously even more powerful than the study sometimes, just hearing it over and over and over. And I've had so many guests on that have said the same thing, that they've dealt with a lot of stuff emotionally, or depression, or just anxiety and things like that. And it's really cool to hear the kind of changes that happen once you start to change that lifestyle. And like, it's a process. It's not saying that, you start eating salad and it's like, it's gone, it's a process of, eating well and working on the mindset aspect every day. And it's just a process of trying to improve every day. I had a guest on once, it was a few weeks ago. It was Dr. Mondo. And it was actually pretty cool because he's a psychologist, and
Mm-hmm.
he's changed his life going plant-based as well. But he was just talking about just how important that mindset work is, as well as the plant-based aspect of it too, because, you have a lot of people who will like lose a huge amount of weight, but then they still realize, oh, I'm still unhappy. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just, it goes, you have to work on both together, but but it is cool hearing how much of a positive impact that it can make once you just start to change what's on your plate.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like the way I try to explain it to people, it's like, honestly, it's hard to find the words, but the best way I can put it was, once I was past like that 1 month phase of going, beginning my vegan lifestyle journey, was this fog kind of just lifted off my head, where I didn't feel this fuzziness or this like pressure constantly in my head when I was thinking about things or dealing with things. I just felt a lot more natural, a lot lighter, I guess you could say. All that fog kind of just went away, and it's not like my depression just disappeared, but I was just mentally just in a healthier state to deal with it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's incredible. And like you had mentioned to me before we started the podcast, just that yoga's been a big part of your life as well. Was that after you started making those lifestyle changes, or was that always part of just your athletic routine?
Well, yeah, yoga's always been a part of my athletic endeavors,
Cool.
I guess. Yeah, part of, because, I'm when I was in Brooklyn as a kid growing up, there weren't many field sports. So I was a boxer when I was a kid. And then when I moved out Virginia, it was the opposite. There weren't many boxing gyms around here, but there were a lot of fields. So then I got into field sports, and I've always just kind of been the kind of type of person where, life's a buffet. So I want to try a little bit of everything I can while I can. So I'm always down to experiment and try new things. So, when I was in high school, they actually offered a free yoga class situation. So I went and did it. And, like I said, I'm 6'4". I'm a large individual. So flexibility has always been a kind of issue, or kind of something I've had in the back of my mind, where I'm big and stiff. So I want to, stay loose, stay flexible, stay mobile. And yoga was the best practice that I found, that not only physically helped me improve my flexibility and mobility, but also, it's a meditation and practice. There's a lot of meditation that goes into yoga. So it was good for my mental practice as well, to strengthen not only my body, but my mind. So I do mix in yoga with my lifting and with my boxing routine that I still carry on to this day, part of my just fitness regimen.
That's awesome. I love that you do that, especially with like the bodybuilding stuff as well, because I think a lot of it goes back to the same thing as like people's ideas about being vegan, right? It's like you think of like a bodybuilder, they're like, oh, I don't want to do yoga. Because some people think that kind of flexibility will decrease strength, when actually it's the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it reduces risk of injury, and also makes your whatever other athletic things you're participating in, makes it more enjoyable, because your hamstrings and your quads and your butt, after trying to do a squat workout and you don't stretch for the next 2-3 days, you're not going to be able to walk or sit on a toilet, right? So
Right.
I mean, staying flexible and mobile only helps keep you in a nice healthy range of motion and in less pain after after working
You're like
out.
looking for the handrail, trying to use the bathroom.
Exactly. I don't get the shaky leg syndrome there. So
Yeah. So what kind of came next then for you? Because I know you had mentioned you were starting the food truck. I also know that you have your vlog up. Like, which came first, the food truck or more of the vlog and sharing the message?
Man. Well, it kind of goes hand in hand. What I started pushing. So when I started my business, Roro's, I started in I started a little small deli in the Alexandria, Virginia area, and then after my first year running that's when I launched my food truck. So when I started my business, period, I was reaching out to Yelp and marketing departments in the area, and the prices were just a little bit too much for me at that time, starting my business. I'm a hustler, so everything I've done, that's why it's Roro's. It's me, it's my name, it's my family, it's everything I've been through up until this point, and everything I want to continue doing going forward. Because my mindset is I've always been a person who's wanted to help or heal others in some way. Now, when I was in school, the medical route was a little too tough for me. I'm not the best, I'm not the best student when it comes to sitting down, studying, taking exams. I'm more a learner of life. I'm more a learner of experience. So, kind of getting out there and just trying to make my own way in life, I figured out that food was kind of the thing that made me tick and made my fire burn a little bit brighter. And then kind of while doing that, at the same time, I wanted to not only have positive effects on people when I'm, giving them food, serving food. Because, if you have a good meal, you smile, you eat it, it hits your stomach. You're like, that's good. You have good conversation around that table. You have good interaction with the people that are either serving you or the people that you're eating with. And, kind of going hand in hand with being a mental health advocate and, trying to live a positive life is I always try to tie my business or tie what I'm doing professionally with my personal. So, being I'm a mental health advocate, I do a lot of fundraising with my food truck whenever I can. Like currently it's May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I've been running a little donation off my truck. For every order I take, I donate $1 to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Off of that, just kind of using what I have to the best of my ability, and to provide the most positive of a footprint that I can leave when I leave this earth. And kind of going hand in hand to that is with being a vegan. People say, there's kind of this battle between people like, oh, vegan's not a diet, vegan's a lifestyle, or vegan's not a lifestyle, vegan's a diet. Well, to me, vegan is whatever you want it to be to you. As long as you're eating plant-based, you're technically a vegan. If you're not consuming any animal products, that's what the whole, mantra is. But, for me, it started being vegan started off being a diet for me because I was a trainer and athlete, and that's how I got into it. But then once I started experiencing more and learning more about it, with the effects it has on our planet, our carbon footprint that we leave behind, just the consumption of, burgers or hot dogs, what it actually does to the animals and the planet around us. Once you learn about those things, once you kind of pull the veil back, you can't forget it. So after learning about all these things that, make the vegan lifestyle as a whole what it is and make it such a positive movement, I decided to share that on my social media with everything else that I do, just to, not only share my story, but to also connect with others and hopefully hear theirs and maybe motivate or inspire someone else, to regard their mental health a little bit more, or to take a little bit more of a mindful approach to what they're eating the next time they sit down to have a meal. Because for me, my social media or my blogging is more of a personal, it's kind of selfish. For me, it's my way to vent. It's my way to keep myself in check. It's my way to make sure I'm staying on a positive path and I'm moving in a good direction in my life. But at the same time, it's also to share with others, because, when I share with others, that actually fuels and motivates and inspires me even more to keep doing what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, because obviously it's extremely rewarding when you get feedback from people and it's made a positive impact on their life. And like you said, like it keeps you accountable. It helps other people and even people that you don't even know it's helping. Like it's crazy how much these platforms can really reach people that may never even reach out to you. You know, like it's really how far reaching that they can go. And it's also obviously amazing for your business as well, because it's getting your business, your food truck exposure. So it's really a win-win all around.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of just going with that, trying to be a better person. I've always been more introverted all my life. When I was diagnosed with clinical depression and I had a mental breakdown when I was in college. So I removed myself from school actually when I came back home. And, during that time, one of the things that was told to me would be beneficial would be to open up more. And with social media, that was me opening up more. And ever since then, it's like, I can't shut up,
Yeah. And it's scary, right? When you first put yourself out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. It definitely, I don't know. To this day, I can't, I always think 2 or 3 times before I post a picture of myself or something. I'm always, the insecurities never go away. You just get better at faking the confidence behind it.
Absolutely. For sure. And for your food truck, the style of cooking is Lebanese, right? So, and it's all vegan?
No, my business isn't completely vegan. So like I said, I started my business about 2-3 years ago. So at that time I was just venturing into being vegetarian. So, I'm a self-taught chef. I've read books, gone online, practiced chopping onions till my hands are, beet red and my eyes are crying. Like I said, I'm a hustler. So I make my own way in this life. Food is the family business. My father and my mother, they started a wholesale business, Middle Eastern products. They actually serve hummus to all the Whole Foods in our area. Awesome. It's called Asmar's Hummus. And so ever since I was a little kid, I was doing demos at a Whole Foods, serving people hummus, telling them what was in it, telling them what was made of. So sales and food has always kind of been in my blood. And then, so when I ventured into this my food side and doing my own culinary journey, it was tied hand in hand with my personal progression. So I'm actually in the process now of trying to shift over my food truck menu to being 100% plant-based while adding a lot more plant-based food to my deli, because my deli is in Alexandria, Virginia in a warehouse district, not very vegan-friendly demographic. Mm-hmm. So, there's always this kind of battle in myself as the business owner and my personal, love and expression of food. So that's why I'm getting to that point. I'm not there yet. I actually just recently, a couple months ago, did my first 100% fully vegan menu run, which was all done by me, all the recipes and everything. I did it for the Physicians Committee. Actually, Dr. Neil Barnard was there giving a talk, and they had wanted a food truck that did vegan food, and I jumped on the opportunity because I was looking to test run, my vegan menu. So I did that, and I got great reviews, great feedback from people, a lot of confidence, and a lot of love and positivity that I received from people that, has helped push and motivate me more than ever now to get it going. And actually, in the very, very near future, I can't tell you exactly when, just quite yet, but in the very, very near future, my food truck will be 100% vegan. And I'm actually doing an event for the National Geographic coming up June 15th. That's going to be 100% vegan also.
That's really cool. Can you talk about the event at all, or is it still kind of on the
yeah, it's the I believe it's the National Geographic Explorers event they have once a year. So they reached out to me after they had seen that I had done the Physicians Committee event, and they had, they were asking me, hey, we see that you do vegan food. And I was like, yes, I'm vegan myself. It's, it's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm in the process of trying to shift over my business model to pivoting to being completely plant-based. And also, in the DC area, because, I actually just took a trip out to California. So, West Coast, vegan food is a little bit more common or more of the norm, while on the East Coast, it's still something that's, receives a lot of resistance, or, there's a lot of misinformation or not enough information available to the public, where they haven't, quite gotten to that point. But, honestly, in the DC area, there is a movement coming, and I'm proud to say I'm a small part of it. But, like other restaurants like Pow Pow in DC, they just recently went 100% vegan with their menu. They got great food over there. There's Farewell on H Street that does amazing vegan style diner food, new vegan. There's some places out there in DC, in our city that are doing it well, doing it right, and really paving the way for other restaurants and other chefs in the area to express themselves with a little less insecurity and a little more confidence. So that's kind of the point I'm getting at to now, where it's like, all right, this snowball is rolling and I'm a part of it. So I want to really push because, like I said, my business is more of who I am. That's why it's called Roro's. It's called my name because that's what it's a nickname my grandmother would always call me. So she was very influential on me chasing my dreams and my culinary passions when, a lot of others around me didn't really give me that confidence. So that's why I named it Rose, more just to, kind of pay homage to her, because growing up as a kid, I'd always be watching her in the kitchen making, a tabbouleh salad by hand or, grinding out some chickpeas to make some hummus in the kitchen, so it's kind of like, it's very personal to me. So that's why when I go 100% completely vegan, I want to do it right. And I want to do it my way. So that's why I've been doing a couple practice runs here, but we're gearing up here to really, really push the envelope.
No, that's amazing. And I can't wait to see how it goes, because I know it's going to be amazing. And you were talking about just how important food has been for your entire family. What's the family support been like for you going plant-based?
Oh, well, I guess,
it's a process, right?
Yeah, typical kind of situation. My mom will make fun of me, be like, Thanksgiving dinner, my mom will be sitting there at the table and she'll be like, well, I think this might be vegan, or I think that might be vegan. And I'm sitting there like, close, good try. But, my mom's real supportive of me, period. She's probably like one of the strongest and most positive person I know. So she's always been in my corner. My dad kind of busts my chops sometimes, but it's expected. It's what it is. Not everyone's going to like it. Your
brother still vegetarian?
Yes, he is. He is still vegetarian. And actually now my older brother has recently in the past couple months committed to attempting to join this vegan lifestyle. So I'm pretty proud of both of them.
The whole family will be there eventually.
Yeah, we're getting them one meal at a time here. One meal at a time.
One meal at a time. I love it. And yeah, so I know we talked about some of those events that you have coming up. Is there anything else coming in the future that we haven't covered that you just want to put out there and share with people?
Well, it's summertime, so it's high season for food truck business. So I'll be out in the D.C. area and the Arlington, Virginia area pretty regularly, Monday through Friday, with events sprinkled here on Friday nights and Saturdays. So within the next month or two, I'm pretty excited to be pushing more, more plant-based items, more vegan items, as well as I just recently partnered with. I'm very excited about this. I partnered with the Herbivorous Butcher out in Minnesota, who is they are a brother-sister duo, I believe, and they run a completely vegan, plant-based butcher shop out in Minnesota. So they do wholesale, cool. And I've partnered with them recently to kind of work on growing and expanding more of a vegan community in this area. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of restaurants and a lot of food spots in this area. Even Union Market, they have DC Dosa. They do completely plant-based Indian food, and it's amazing. I mean, there's a lot of up and coming businesses and restaurants and chefs and restaurant owners in this area that are really trying to build and create a positive plant-based community in which others can join in, and others can also join in on pushing that movement, because it is such a positive movement, not only for your personal health, but also for the environmental health as well. So it is something very important that we as a community need to, be more aware of, have more, I guess, podcasts like this where we get more people talking about, the truths and the real things going on, and making people more mindful of their day-to-day lives and how every decision they make does have, a greater impact than what they are, what they believe it to be.
Absolutely. No, I mean, very well said, and 100% agree. And I can't wait to watch just the positive impact that you make by putting this amazing food out into the world and making it more accessible and, more normal for everyday people that are just out and about and just want to grab something plant-based. Like, it doesn't have to be hard or like health food store-ish, so I love everything that you're doing, Roro. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And what is the best way for people to follow you? That way they can check out just everything that you're doing. And then also, is there like a way for people to track the food truck to see if you're at certain events?
Yeah, well, for my food truck, for my food business, it's at Roro's Lebanese on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We also are partnered with 20 Tables. If you're looking for a food truck in a lot of areas, so we post our locations on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for our food truck and our deli specifically. But also, we're partnered with 20 Tables, which I'd love to mention. They are a great app that just started recently in our area. That for every several meals you buy from them, they donate a meal to the local area food bank.
Awesome.
So they work with food trucks and restaurants on kind of like a locator style app where you use it to place an order ahead of time and go pick up from the truck. So we run with them. They're doing a lot of positive things in this area. And then, just off our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, you'll see a lot of me. I literally I run the truck myself. So I work it, I clean, I cook, I do the bills, the accounting. I wear all the hats.
Love
so
it.
Anytime the truck is out there, I'm out there, and I'm always posting, a story or a video or a post on our social media, letting people know where we are, what we're serving that day. We've been running vegan specials pretty regularly, every month or so, but as our menu's kind of shifting over and just carrying, closer to 100% plant-based items, we always carry vegan items, period, on our menu, no matter what. I always make sure of that. And then if you guys ever want to follow me on, my personal end, on my mental health advocation, and, a little bit of personal food recipes that I do all the time, just kind of separate from my business, you can follow me at Roro Meets World.
Awesome. And that's the same for YouTube, right?
Yep. I started up a little YouTube channel a little while ago. I got to get better at it. It's tough running a business and trying to have a personal life, but I try to get some videos in there as much as I can, because in this area, there are a lot of amazing creatives, photographers, videographers that I've had the pleasure of partnering with through, local events like Street Meet DC and Portrait Meet DC. There's just a lot of positive creative movement going on in this area. Not to just mention, the vegan movement that we all got to really get on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And if you guys are listening, go give him a follow. And if you're in the DC area, go find him at an event and let him know you heard him on the podcast, and tag me in if you guys take a selfie together, because I'd love to see that and repost on my end as well. So
hey.
I'm excited for you, Roro, and just excited to see just all the amazing things that you do. And closing question that I ask every guest. But if you just had one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it's something that's been like your biggest takeaway in your wellness journey so far. But if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
One piece of advice. Ooh, this is good. I like that. That's a great closing question you got there.
No pressure.
Let's see. Best piece of advice. Don't worry, be happy. That would be my best piece of advice. Bob Marley.
Hey, listen, that's all you need, right?
Exactly.
I love it. No, it's perfect, Roro. And just thank you so much for taking time to come on. I can't wait to see what you and your company does, and just extremely excited for you. So just thank you so much.
Oh, I appreciate you so much for having me on today. Thank you for taking the time, and what you're doing is very important and crucial to creating a better and more positive society.
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Roro. He's doing so much positive work, so be sure to give him a follow on social media to keep up with everything that he's been working on. You can find his social media links that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drkcjohnson.com. That's drkaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Roro's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Roro, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Also, be sure to check out patreon.com/Dr. Casey Johnson to learn how you can support the Unlock Wellness podcast. Thank you guys so much again for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved it. I hope it inspires you. And most importantly, I hope you take action.